Hello. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Meshery development call. And I think the meeting is already live streamed, right? I think, yeah. Okay, so yeah, starting with the newcomers introduction, I don't think there's no. So AB, if I'm pronouncing your name right, so you have joined this call for the first time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, if you can introduce a bit to us.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is AB, and I joined this program last week to just like everyone else, hoping to make contributions to some of the available. What would I call it? I'm not sure what to call it now. But I'm specializing in back end development, and I'm trying to build on that. And I'm currently at the end of my cohort at a boot camp, and I'm trying to spend some time working on actual projects, and to also help others in any way that I can as well. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. I think, yeah, we do a lot of backend stuff, and Ashish would be a good mate for you to start. And yeah, Lee, you have to say something.
Oh yeah, hey, welcome, Abby. Hey, it's great to have you. There's a bunch of other folks here to welcome you as well. And so thanks for that introduction. By the way, we force everyone who joins any of the calls for the first time to, we should put them on the spot and have them awkwardly introduce themselves. So your introduction was perfect. Sometimes we even ask people what their favorite color is and where they went to primary school. And
yeah, I wasn't sure what to say at first because I wasn't prepared. I didn't think I was going to be called, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, it was gracious of our host to actually let you know what that was. Yeah, we'll no, but yeah, but you hit it on the head. You hit it. That's exactly what we were. So I don't know if you said, but whereabouts are you calling in from?
Poland.
Oh, very good. Wait, my geography there is coordinate me. So are we talking east?
Central.
Central.
Okay. Europe. Central Europe.
Wait, okay, wait. Say the name of where are you calling from again?
Poland.
Oh, Poland. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. I totally didn't hear. Okay, sorry. Wow, my geography isn't that bad. Okay, yeah, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, I figured because I think you thought I said somewhere in Africa or something because you mentioned Africa. Yeah, I'm originally from Nigeria.
Okay, I couldn't tell by the accent. It sounded Polish to me.
Oh, really?
No, it didn't. No, just kidding. No.
Right. I'm originally Nigerian. I just currently stay in Poland.
Yeah, is there a word for that? Is that yeah, we'll have to think of that. I don't know what that what you call that then. Anyway, we'll have to think of something sarcastic to poke at you about it. I don't know.
Right.
Anyway, well, you're very welcome. Thanks for introducing. It's nice to get to know you, and now everybody else feels comfortable to harass you as well. So this is great.
Right. I'm just really looking forward to being a part of the community fully. I'm really excited about that.
Nice. Oh, good. Well, there's some great updates that we've got today, and we've got KubeCon coming up next week. I think that's a topic today, and so good. Well, just to steal Avi's thunder, I think he's looking around the rest of the attendees, trying to weed out any other potential newcomers today. Any other newcomers first time on today's call?
Good afternoon. I am Debashish Vishesh from India, and I am first time in this meeting right now.
So now if we don't harass you, then you're just going to feel unloved. And it's going to feel really unfair to Ebby as well. So welcome. It's great to have you. By the way, if everybody's got bandwidth for it, feel free to flip on your webcams or what have you. The only requirement is a shirt. You don't have to have brushed your hair or your teeth necessarily, but a shirt is nice. So back to you, Abhi.
Yeah. Thank you, Avi and Devashish. Yeah, so we can get on rolling on the agenda items, and the first one on the list is Nitish.
On the
Yeah,
let me share
yeah.
the screen. Okay, so to give a bit of a context, like we have okay, Meshery, like there are like Meshery components are sort of like a way of exposing like capabilities of the platforms that Meshery supports. So that can be anything, but for now it's like it can be it's like the basic construct in Meshery which allows us to encapsulate the capabilities that are offered by other systems such as Kubernetes or any other platforms for that matter. So like we have been having components, but then like right now I've made some like there has been some there has been some advancements in the way that we actually generate these components. So right now, like there is a repository of Helm charts that are available to us through Artifact Hub. So we could actually scan the whole repository and then like get the and generate components from all the like what are the systems that are actually registered in Artifact Hub. So this is something that we could do. So based on that, like there is actually a PR in my Meshery server that does that. So basically, there is a script that would run, which would actually go ahead and scan over the whole database of Artifact Hub and then like, start generating components and eventually register them whenever Meshery server starts. So I'll send a link to the PR if you guys want to check it out. So just a second. Yeah, so this will basically run as a GitHub workflow, and this will be manually triggered and yeah, and other stuff as well. So
Hey, Nitish, just real quick, just in case, do you know if the microphone that's being used, is it, I wonder if you might double check, is it from your laptop or is it from the, just because
it's from the earphones. Like I'm actually in an environment where I can't actually use much voice. So
gotcha.
Yeah, I guess like it's fine, right? Like should I raise my voice a bit more?
I think I'm okay. I understand the library rules. You have to whisper in the library. Is that the yeah, okay.
Okay, so yeah, this is PR, and so basically like there is a spreadsheet where we're actually tracking these components that are supposed to be registered while Meshery server initiates. So uh, like, like these are the components. Like there is a Meshery has a mesh map plugin. So in mesh map, like these components will be visualized in different ways. So these are the attributes that will be actually used by mesh map to which helps us to visualize those components on the canvas. So yeah, there has been some work going on over here to keep all these things consistent, so that like whenever like we can actually go ahead and dynamically get this information, but then like that will not be consistent. So because of that, like we have the establishing sort of like a precedence. We are giving more precedence to like priority to this spreadsheet over here. So we can infer this information dynamically, but then like if something like if you already have the information, then we'll directly use it rather than fetching dynamically. So yeah, this is the list that we have now. So these are like the components that are packages of Artifact Hub from which we can actually generate the Meshery components.
Yeah. Hey, do people have questions for Nitish?
Nitish, did you get the message that I sent about the usage of Meshery, the code going inside of Meshery itself and spinning up Meshery binary?
That was about like moving the package manager implementation into Meshkit, right? Or are you talking about something
No. That was another conversation. This conversation was about the code that you have right now as a separate code inside of the whatever directory that you have. The similar approach I was taking initially in the adapters, but then I took
Okay.
another approach where the code was shifted inside of the binary, and to use that code, we spin up the binary and send requests. So the API endpoint, the / mesh model endpoint is already unauthenticated. So we won't be having any problems sending curl requests to that. So we can have that code inside of, okay, you get my point.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that made sense. Okay, I think like I forgot to respond to that, but yes, I did read that message and that did make sense to me.
Yeah. Another consideration is so this static list of components, which will be any big in count, maybe more than 500, 2000. So these will also be used in design configurator, right? Inside the Meshery UI. So I think the current design configurator already needs some update to properly explain people like what are the list of components, adapters, and different things available for them to configure. So I strongly think there should be a redesign of the design configurator window itself, and probably maybe a page in itself that tells the users about the better UI capabilities of not just exposing what different things they can do with all the components that they have. Like they can see it in the Meshery extensions, but somewhere around Meshery UI where you are actually modifying the components and seeing the results side by side. We are missing a lot of UX enhancement there, or UI enhancement.
So Abhi, you're saying if there's people on the call or who are watching the live stream, that if they're into React, that there's help wanted in Meshery UI? Okay.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. Another thing is people good in UI UX. I think they are the most helpful right now in this context, because it's all about UI UX right now. So once the UX is finalized or UI is finalized, then we would be requiring more help in defining the React code. Other than that, the current React code itself is like way old written, and uh, that was one of the initial iteration that needs some more iterations to make it like more performant and make it better refactor code. So yeah, definitely both categories are helpful here. I mean, people from both categories, I mean, whoever knows React front end or UI UX, they're certainly required mostly.
Yeah, Nitish's update is a little more. There's a little more to it than he could try to squeeze into that short time frame, or rather, there's maybe a different way of articulating the impact of that area of work, that body of work. If you don't mind, I'm going to try to articulate that a little bit differently than I think that we have to date. And we'll see if that resonates with the rest of the maintainers, the rest of the contributors. And then two, maybe it will help explain a bit, give everyone else a bit more context as well. And that's just to say that when of the components of the Meshery project, there are a number of architectural components. I'm not going to go over all of them, but just to point out that some of those components are Meshery adapters. There are about 10 of them today. They are, for the most part, currently focused on managing a specific service mesh. Meshery does much more than just manage service meshes, though. It manages Kubernetes clusters. It does performance testing. It does a lot of things. more and more, it is capable of managing any workload that you might want to deploy onto Kubernetes, which includes any Helm charts that you might have, or Kubernetes manifests, or Docker Compose applications, and then more, even more deeply of the work that Nitish is doing, and others are doing, is to allow Meshery to go deeply into each individual application that you might be running in a Kubernetes context. And that might be an app like you'd normally think of, like a user-facing application, or it might be an app that is like something like Prometheus, like another piece of infrastructure, an infrastructure application, another workload. And so each of this list of 500 or so components 500 or so applications, times however many components those particular applications have, so many thousands of individual components, Meshery will come preloaded with all of those. And the reason that I'm covering this topic again is to maybe articulate it in this way, which is that there's like 3/4 of the current responsibility that Meshery adapters have for managing a specific piece of infrastructure. Like I was saying, most of these are for service meshes. There's one that's dedicated, or that's yet to be developed, but is designed to do performance management. That each of these adapters, they manage maybe, I don't know, they manage between 10 to 40 something components a piece. So 10 times 20, 200. Let's all go back to primary school for a moment. Anyway, that's a number of components. And that's one way of thinking about, how many different ways that Meshery can configure infrastructure. Well, of what Nitish is presenting, that super long list of that spreadsheet, all of those components. Oh my goodness, that's really, if you think of that as like, well, Meshery, for many of those components, Meshery won't require an adapter. Meshery's server itself will have all of that knowledge built in for those thousands of components, which immediately makes it like a cloud native manager capable of managing very deeply the configuration of your Kubernetes clusters, and then equally as deeply the configuration of any thing that you might deploy on it. So it's pretty significant. And so the different way that I was trying to present this was like sort of comparing and contrasting to what Meshery adapters do today and their responsibility. That's very similar in nature. So if you want to know what the underlap is, why we would still have Meshery adapters, go ask on the discussion forum and I'll answer it. So, but I don't know if that resonated. Like, does that resonate for anybody else here that's been working on this stuff? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I figured as much. Yeah, I see everyone's head nodding. Sure. Mm-hmm. What do we have next? Get some KubeCon updates.
Yeah, Deepesha.
Yeah, the blog is done and we have all of the events, the talks up on the events page. So I think we wanted to discuss what we're going to talk about, project office hours. I think Lee wanted to. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
thanks. You want to share the blog post with some links and things to so next week I'll make this really brief. Next week is KubeCon, if you weren't aware. And so the Service Mesh Performance Project and the Meshery project are both CNCF projects. They have office hours at KubeCon. You're all welcome to attend virtually. And the vast majority of you are welcome to not just attend those office hours, but represent the project through those office hours. So later today, there'll be an email that goes out to the community mailing list. And we'll give you, I guess, basically this link, which has links to information on how to join those office hours. Well, we'll probably run them pretty informally, just have some slides to kind of tell people about the projects, but mostly there to answer people's questions, which could be, discussions on capabilities that the projects have, things that they're actively working on, what their roadmap might look like, things like that. So if you're old or new to KubeCon, this is a good way for you to be involved, whether you're attending physically or attending virtually. So there's those two office hours. If you're subscribed to the community calendar, the details are on there, but again, we'll send out an email just to make sure people can join. If you've been in this community, don't feel, you should absolutely reach out and ask to be a panelist or ask to be on the office hours to introduce maybe a feature or talk about a roadmap item or answer questions. And so, you're all invited to do that. If you have questions about it or you'd like to do that, just, message in the Meshery channel, or the performance channel for Service Mesh Performance. So, or reply to the email that goes out.
Yeah, you're all welcome to participate as a panelist and as an audience also. Great. I think these links are handy and you can check out in your leisure or right now. And I think it's mostly covered, right? So we can move on to our next item on the agenda list. And it's by Pranav on different fixes he would be mentioning.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. So today, the first item which I will be talking about is the extension point bugs, which were what if you don't know what extension points are? Meshery is, being a cloud native manager, is also an extensible cloud native manager, which means that you can plug in different extensions of your choice, and then it will enhance the overall functionality of Meshery. As of today, Meshery supports different kinds of extension points, whether they are full page extension point, backend extension point, component based extension point. So this bug is related to the full page extension point, which basically the bug was that we cannot switch between two full page extension points while being on one at the same time, which means that if I'm on Meshmap, I cannot directly go to user accounts, or if I'm on user accounts, I cannot directly go to Meshmap. The reason for that bug was that even though I'm switching the extension point, the UI was not being re-rendered, and because of that, the component was not being updated. So for fixing that, what I did was now I'm using a Redux store variable for that, which basically tracks on which extension point we are. And as soon as we try to switch between them, then that variable gets updated. And because of the change in that variable, the component gets re-rendered. So now it works perfectly fine. So if I'm on user account, I can directly go to Meshmap. And if I'm on Meshmap, I can go to user account. So this is the thing. And also the second problem was that the entire button of the user account was not clickable. That was because of a small problem in the CSS, and that is also fixed. These fixes are very small, though it requires review. So please, if you are into Redux or you are new to the project, it would be great if you could, or it would be great too if you could review this PR. So this is the first thing. Any feedback or questions on this? Okay, so I'll move on. The second item is it's about there was one small problem is that Meshery allows to Meshery as a tool, whenever it deploys on a cluster, it looks for different workflows running cluster and then it saves it into your DB so that then you can view it on your dashboard. So there was a small problem that when we reset our database, then it was working fine when we were trying to reset the entire database, but it wasn't working fine when we tried to selectively reset the database for a particular cluster. And that problem was very simple. The problem was that in the UI, we were not sending the true flag for resetting a particular. There are two operations. One is for particular cluster, and the other one is for the entire every cluster in the database. So we were not sending this true flag to the resync operation, and as soon as we send that, now it works selectively for each of the cluster. So this is small fix. And the third one, which I fixed yesterday, which was very important, that was the improper tags in the Meshery Docker extension. And the problem was that the sorting was not working properly, and because of that, the right tag was not being applied to the image, and because of that, we were not seeing the correct tag on the Meshery on the Docker extension. So now I updated that, and now if we go to it, it shows the right tag, which is the 0.6.16, which is in line with the latest release of Meshery, and it was updated yesterday. So, and it runs fine. Yeah, this is another fix. And I would be tracking a similar issue related to resync, related to database. That is, when we delete a context, then the components related to that cluster should be deleted as soon as we delete the context. So I'm working on that and I'll fix that. So any feedback or any question?
I think yeah, yours. Okay. So when I was working on the settings page, and I mean, you just talked about flushing mesh sync data per cluster. So what if the Meshery mesh sync service is not there in the Kubernetes cluster? So I got into this scenario when, as you know, cleaning up my mesh sync cluster, and I accidentally deleted the mesh sync service that it exposes and operator was still running. So even after refreshes of the data, I mean the Meshery server, and shutting it down and restarting it, so it didn't start the mesh sync service once again. So I don't think, I mean, it does cover a lot of user base, but this may be a good edge case to consider also, where you just delete one of the service or a deployment for the mesh sync, and then it's not able to start up uh, on the server refresh, and probably it's not getting checked also. So yeah.
Okay, I might look into it. I wasn't aware of this. Probably some problem with the reconciling function, which is the Meshery operator.
Yeah, so you deleted the mesh sync service, right? Manually.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I was about to delete the operator as well as mesh sync, but I just deleted mesh sync, and I thought that it will respawn on the restart of the Meshery server, but it didn't. I had to manually go to the Kubernetes YAML, then deploy that service again. So since it is just an internal thing to Meshery, and you don't have to do that thing, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, actually, the reconcilers currently only are mostly listen for not mostly, only listen for the mesh sync custom resource and the broker custom resource. So if you manually remove anything up, we should be handling those cases in the reconciliation loop itself. So there was a change that was about to happen. If Uzair is here, yeah, Uzair is here. So we had discussed a change about dynamically allowing users to update the IP. If like someone starts Minikube tunnel, or someone brings up Metal LB, and the external IP of the broker changes, that should be reflected on the UI, or basically operator should use that thing to update some stuff. So I think Uzair had created a PR about that, and I think that's if that PR is closed, we should bring that up. And I had pointed to some other operator as well, which was which was also actively looking for some other resources. And in that PR itself, we can extend that PR to have these use cases as well, so that if so we know that we deploy for mesh sync a mesh sync service and a mesh sync stateful set. So if user manually deletes the stateful set, then we will in the reconciliation loop, we will restart the stateful set. We don't have to do it at the pod level, because pod would be taken care by the stateful set. That's the parent. But the things that we deploy, we should be also watching for those things, so that if those things are manually undeployed, we can redeploy them. And that logic will go in the same PR that Uzair was working on before. And I think if Uzair, if you have closed that PR, you can open that PR again, and we can have this change on that PR itself.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I will do all the changes.
Yeah, just basically make sure that everything that we are deploying. So in case of mesh sync, in case of broker, the stateful set, and in case of mesh sync, the deployment service, all those things that we deploy, we also watch for them, so that if they are deleted, we take care of that. Just thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next topic. Ashish.
Yeah, so my first topic is about fixing failing state in mesh sync. So there were some bugs in mesh sync, due to which when you first start the cluster, there was a precondition that operator was needed to be there. So currently the life cycle of, so we have an operator that manages two resources, mesh sync and a broker, and we have Meshery server running differently. Although the name might suggest that Meshery operator manages the life cycle of Meshery, but just so that people don't get confused, no, it doesn't. That's maybe a bad naming or something, but Meshery operator manages life cycle of components that are used by Meshery or talk to Meshery. So there was some kind of inside of the original logic that Nitish had added during the refactor. It was that Meshery could on demand anytime ask for all the data that the broker had, and the broker has all the data of cluster that is given to it through mesh sync. So mesh sync gives data to broker, and broker gives data to Meshery. That's how the whole thing works. And usually this works fine, but sometimes maybe, let's say that Meshery was off, Meshery pod got taken down and then it came back up. So there might be updates that it might be missing. So in that case, Nitish added a subject in NATS through which Meshery can tell mesh sync to basically give all the data again, so that it can resync its state. And that thing wasn't working properly. And the reason that wasn't working is that yeah, basically after starting the informer, there is a function that we call, and that function is wait for cache sync. And that this function is supposed to be called where the informer is started, not here. And so I'm inside the pipeline step. So we have pipelines which consist of a lot of steps, and each step has starting a unique informer for each of the resources that we manage. So here I moved that thing to there, and things are working again. So for few of you who might have not been getting data, meshing data, after this PR was merged and the release was made, you should be getting data now. And the other one was removing extraneous lock. So Antoinette had pointed this out, and a lot of other folks also had pointed this out, that it was looking for unstructured, this kind of log was coming up. And this was because because we were also trying to start informers for resources that were not present in cluster. And when we do that, it basically starts an informer that points to an invalid resource, and hence we get the error. So I commented this extra things out. Well, there is another spec going on regarding how we want to handle start informers and what resources we want to look for, but that I won't get into that discussion right now, so that other folks can also have their topics. So this was about updating mesh sync, and now most people should get all the in all the cases, there should be, no matter if your operator came up first or Meshery server came up first, you should be getting mesh sync data, which is to say all your cluster data inside of your Meshery dashboard, and if you're using mesh map in your visualizer. The other update, anyone has any questions here, so that I can move on to the next one? Okay. Okay, so next one is about added in GitHub release package manager. So in the first topic that Nitish talked about, he talked about adding all those 500 or so components. We are scraping Artifact Hub, and we fetch all these components and save that in our registry. So he had created a generic factory that could be used in that could be then, there was an interface that could be then implemented by any number of any number of component generators. He only implemented for Artifact Hub, but then there was a requirement for fetching Helm charts from GitHub releases. So for that, I added another package here, which is just which is a small change, and all it does is it fetches the Helm chart, and through that it goes into the CRDs, and from those CRDs it extracts all those CRDs and then generates the components. So for all the other things that we might have left out, or things that don't the things that are not available in Artifact Hub and are only available through GitHub releases, we can generate packages and we can register those components through this instance of this struct inside of Meshery server. And the original okay, I'm forgetting the name. Lee, if you could put that in chat. The original repo for which this thing was being created was I don't remember the name, but we were supposed to generate components for that. But the thing is that repo does not have CRDs, so that we won't be able to generate any, because they don't have CRDs. Only thing that they have in their Helm chart are the templates, which just consist of pods and services, and we already have pods and services. So we might be able to import those as applications or designs, public facing designs. So I'll add that thing as a public facing design as we go and start adding designs, public facing designs in mesh map, as well as Meshery's design configurator. Okay, so that was about this update. Another small update is the migration of this is an older PR, and I have talked to Nitish about this. So the package manager that I talked about, which is responsible for fetching all the Helm charts, or for the matter, maybe it can be a Kubernetes YAML or a Helm chart or anything else. Basically anything that consists of custom resource definitions that because CRDs have open API spec through which we can generate the schema, which we are constantly calling components. They are nothing but Swagger specs which help us talk to Kubernetes API server, because that's kind of a contract that Kubernetes API service understands. So yeah, that package manager, some part of that code is in Meshery, some part of that code is in Meshkit. So to consolidate all the code in Meshkit, that was this PR was created, and since Nitish has given a green flag to it, and I think we can move on with this PR and move it. This is just a copy and paste from the Meshery's code. There's nothing new being added here. That was the second thing, and now on to the third thing. So this PR was created by Abhi, and it looks like he did some of my work as well. So just to give a little bit of context, after Nitish's PR a few days ago, we have a construct of controllers, which is Meshery is a controller, Meshery operator is a controller, and broker is a controller. Three things that I talked about a bit ago. So these three things have their statuses, which can be deployed, which can be connected, which can be not connected, and so on and so forth. So all these statuses are mapped through a GraphQL subscription. And previously we had scattered code here and there. Some of the code was for mesh sync, some code was someplace else. For broker, we didn't have a code, or we had one. So basically everything was scattered, but Nitish consolidated everything, because now everything had to satisfy this interface of being a controller. So get status, and all the code was then migrated to Meshkit. So and then he also created a subscription, but as it turned out, the front end was not using the subscription. So here what Abhi did was he updated the GraphQL schema, and he removed the older subscriptions, the listen to operator state and listen to mesh sync events, where we were operator and mesh sync, we were separately listening to each one of them. But now, since we have a single subscription that gives us data for all the controllers, we can just use that one. And it looks like Abhi has already deleted the Go code, the things that I was going to delete. So I'll test this PR out, and if everything is working, so I'll stop talking and Abhi can talk about it, because he has created this PR. So Abhi, are the things in this PR now working? Are you getting appropriate data in the front end right now?
Yeah, so the newer API, just look at the line number 18 in the screen where subscribe Meshery controller status. So that's a GraphQL subscription that calls different subscription model from what we are using right now, and the response to the data is something different also. And what I saw is like for the one thing, for example, the operator status and controller status, that can be handled, and that is being handled by only one subscription, but there are three different subscriptions listed for it in the GraphQL schema spec. So I mean, those were not required, and for that, those needs to be related. And there are multiple such GraphQL subscriptions which are, just listed in the schema file, and they're not being used in the in the UI in the front end, or they're not being consumed by the client. So I think all these needs to be cleaned up, and because the new subscription has some changes in the response structure, so it will need some changes in the UI also, although that thing is not being done right now. So it's a part, that's why it is under draft. So I'll do the required changes in the UI for it to respect the new form of responses and the structures. And after that, we'll be following a streamlined behavior of what we thought when removing, I mean, adding the constant controller struct and all those things. So at that time, when Nitish was doing these changes, so all those things were considered, those changes were made in the back end only, and they were not front end didn't he didn't make any change to the front end. So with that, we were on to that deprecated state, and with this PR, and we are looking forward to move to that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for speaking to it. So yeah, that's the part left in front end. And I think there is no change required in this PR in backend, except for one change, which is to right now we have two enums, one inside of the GraphQL. So did you also remove? Okay, I don't see that you did. Okay, you didn't remove the enum. I'll do that part. So enum inside of the GraphQL schema is also present, and one enum is present in Meshkit, and these enums define the states these controllers can be in. So we only need one. I'll remove it from here. So that part is left, and this PR will be up for review in, I guess, 1 or 2 days. Moving on to the next last item that I have, which is the so we are migrating to Postgres. Up until now, we were using SQLite, which is a lightweight database. It's a we don't even require any other running server or running process for it. But as we go on to consume these 500 or so components that we talked about, things get a little complicated. And in future, we will have a workflow engine. And if we go with something like temporal, it requires Postgres. So basically, we need a better quality database. So we are migrating to Postgres, and this is the kind of deployment model we have. So for Kubernetes, we'll have the Postgres container running as a sidecar container with your Meshery container, and for your Docker Compose, it would be running just as another Docker service. And now for the contributors here, you would require Docker on your system so that you have a Postgres container running at this port and this thing. Even if you don't have a Docker container, it's still fine, but in that case, you'll have to make sure that you have a local Postgres instance running that is being exposed in that port. The container approach is always will motivate you towards the container approach, because that way it's easier to debug if you run into any database problems, because everything is inside of container. Your environment wouldn't be messing with anything. But if you decide to run a Postgres local instance, then it's also fine, but it will be a little harder to debug. So that's the dev environment. And most of the changes have been done. The only change the only last test that I was doing was about adding another job in a GitHub action, which would publish Helm charts for this on the basis of this PR onto my personal repository, my personal GitHub pages. So from there, people can basically pull the GitHub, charts that are formed on the basis of this particular change, and then see if everything is working or not. And I might have messed up in the kind of permission that I would have given in token, or it can be the case that maybe I don't know, some secrets versus somewhere is the issue. I'll figure it out after this meeting. So after that, the charts for this would be most probably available by today. So all the contributors here, I'll put the link to the chart inside of Meshery channel, general channel. So you can just do Helm. You can use Helm to add that chart, install that chart, and if everything works, so we'll use that chart to test things out. And maybe some minor changes are left here in the. I'll go through the GitHub workflows to make sure that any test that is dependent on Meshery also runs the Postgres container, because most of the Meshery's functionality requires you to have a database. There are a few things that you can still do without database, but still that we would consider that Meshery to be in a deprecated state if you don't have a database. So yeah, there are those are the things that are left, and most probably there should be a Helm chart by today, a testing Helm chart that through which we would be testing if everything is working fine. Locally, some of the contributors here have already tested out this PR, and since we use an ORM library and we don't use something any Go library that is native to Postgres, so the migration was pretty easy, and except for a few things here and there. So to avoid any hiccups, we are using this testing via a temporary Helm chart. So if that works out, we would be migrating to Postgres most probably by this week. So that's a heads up for a bunch of contributors. So if you run into any issues, or like it says your database is not connected or something, just make sure that either you have a Postgres instance running or you have a Postgres container. You won't have to start the container yourself, of course. In the make file, I'll take care of that. Just make sure that you have a Docker, you have Docker installed, and and of course that docker.io is reachable so that we can fetch the Postgres image. But I think that would anyway. Okay, so yeah, that's all items from my side. So I'll stop talking now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ashish. Yeah, Rituraj, please go on.
Okay. So yeah, this is this is just a demo for another one thing that we're trying to do is to have if you guys don't know, we have a cloud native catalog at meshery.io/catalog, and here we have a bunch of like curated patterns and filters which people can use with Meshery. So what we want to do is we want to move the source of truth for this catalog to Meshery Cloud, where people can where basically people can store their made the patterns and filters that they make, and so we can allow them to make certain patterns and filters public, which will show up here. So for that, we've written a GitHub action, which basically does that. Every time somebody makes a item public or makes any changes to a public item, that reflects here through that GitHub action. So this is just a demo so just to trigger the workflow, I'm just going to, oh no. Okay, let me just do that. That was a misclick. So yeah, some UI stuff is required here, which I need help with. So public and I delete it. Should trigger the GitHub action over here. Yeah, so it triggers a GitHub action, and this GitHub action just it generates a markdown for the new catalog item, and it pulls the catalog data. It makes another file and puts it on meshery.io repository. See, I mean, yeah. So this is done. Yeah, that's it.
So in the catalog, so in the catalog, does it provide the URL or the entire raw data?
It gets the entire raw data and puts it on the repository.
Okay. So if someone is using, let's say, Designer or Design Configurator, so if they want to import it, will they have to copy paste that thing, or is there a way to like import that from there?
So we want to make once Meshery Cloud has the ability to, be the repository for patterns and filters where people can also scroll through them. We want to just have a button which just adds it to their Meshery Cloud account.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rituraj. Moving to the next item in the agenda list, Harkirat, Meshery CTL view delete configurations.
Yeah.
some changes to design configurator.
So I did some final changes to so the current behavior of Meshery CTL is like you can't view and delete the configuration. So configurations are basically pattern applications or filters. So you can't view on the base of the short ID that we provide to the user. So I did some final changes to this PR. So this PR was hanging for a quite long time. So I did some final changes. If Husseina is in call, so she can look up to this. So that's from my side. And the other update was regarding the style fixes. So as we use same theme for the mesh map and the design configurator for the RJSF form, I did some style fixes to like here's a list of the style fixes which I did to the like collectively to the RJSF form. Yeah, that's from my side. Any question?
The Meshery CTL updates that you did, are there more of those to come? Are there?
No, those are the final. Like Husseina asked me to make a thing reusable, so I did that just like 15 minutes ago, and that's done from my side.
Okay. And are there
Yeah.
other Meshery CTL areas that people can help with?
Yeah. Like one was, I think you told me of like deploying from the CLI. We had a Slack chat like in the Meshery CTL Slack channel. Yeah.
Any other area? So yeah, any other areas that can you make a call for volunteers? Like what if someone's here to contribute with Golang, how could they do that? Are there open issues for them to jump on?
Yeah, so I think so we have a quite open issues on Hacktoberfest, which I don't think like people didn't grab during the Hacktoberfest related to the error messages. Like that's a area that folks that are new in this code like can hop in and try and taste the Golang stuff.
Yeah, thank you. So good. Yeah, please yeah, looking for the Hacktoberfest. There has been a bunch of issues open for you all, and it's great if you can, I mean, it's great for both of us if you can, take a look on to those things. So moving on to the next item, we have Uzair, and he has updates on catalog switch.
I was testing something and my server crashed. So basically, if we have, if I can share, I can't share my screen, but if you have gone into the configuration page and there in the design menu and in the filters tab, you will be seeing the new switch of Abhi, if you have your server running, can you share a screen? I will write what's the issue.
So yeah, so you are talking about this one?
Yes. In the configuration, you see this catalog button, and there is some bug. Like if you see, it is not hidden, but still it is showing that all the public items should be shown, but it is not showing. Like this switch doesn't work correctly always. Like if you refresh your screen, sometimes you get private, even if if you have hidden your catalogs. There is some undesired behavior, and I'm trying to solve that. It is inconsistent. Like you don't always get that. So yes, it is in progress.
So the state of hide and show is somewhat persisted on the browser refreshes, or I mean, what I'm asking basically is this saved out of the
Yes, it basically there is a single Redux variable which manages the visibility in the entire UI.
Yeah, because sometimes I notice that when you log into a new browser, I mean, log to your account, log in your account on a new browser, and you have by default the public catalog view is, you know, in open state or in a visible state, right? So still you won't see the data because maybe due to something is running behind. I mean, something there may be a variable checking mismatch, whether, okay, this is also one of the things that is here, where you are, you know, changing the catalog visibility from the a different page and saving it into the cloud. Like, so all these, I mean, this is very minor conflict that may, you know, affect some of the new users only. Once these things are set up, I mean, this is more natural, but this is just for new user. Even if the catalog is in the visible icon or in the visible state, it still don't show the all the public items. And when you re-click and, you know, retoggle the catalog item to visible state, it starts showing it. So
yeah, I think even
if
I
you're
faced
looking
that
onto it,
issue. Yeah, it's
Yes, it is more consistent with, like, if I delete all my preferences and do that refresh, like as what Abhi mentioned, like for new user.
yeah, maybe because the keys is still not available into the Meshery cloud, and it's being uh, taken as a false statement rather than, you know, undefined statement, and something similar, I think.
I will look into it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there's another GraphQL issue here where, you know, a user might clone something like this. And first of all, we don't need to capitalize every letter, every word in the sentence, and we don't need to yell at the user. I don't know why we would, unless we're really, really happy that they cloned it. But there's just never really a reason to ever use never an exclamation mark. You just don't. Anyway, there's a couple. So for those that are on the call, like, there's a number of things to jump in and get your hands dirty with Meshery UI. One is to remove the exclamation mark. Two is to reduce the size of this particular icon, which is larger than the rest. Three is that users can't filter for public content only. They can filter for just private stuff, but they can't look at just public stuff. They can look at public and private, or just private, but they can't look at just public. That's another challenge that we're facing. Another one is that I've made a copy of this twice, and I don't, maybe I'm mistaken. I probably am. So I made a copy of this twice, and I did it today, and whoops. And so I'm mistaken. Actually, the two copies that I've made, they're right here. These are two private copies. So what's the difference between public and private in this case?
you
Like,
can
if
edit
you
the
want-
private.
Yes, if you want to edit your public patterns, like a public pattern is available for all the users who use Meshery. And if you want some additional configuration, you can make a copy, and then it will be private, like only visible to you, and then you can do the stuff.
Oh, I see. Yeah, there aren't tooltips on these buttons, so it's a little difficult to know. Let's see, here the labels really help, and there's tooltips, so that's nice. Clone, yeah, you can see this logo is so big it's getting cut off. But yeah, so great. So this installation for, Istio installation for catalog, would we expect that this is, since this is a piece of public content, would we expect that this is also on the Meshery IO catalog potentially? Gosh, when? Sorry, when did we move to? Never mind. Anyway, yeah, go ahead, Raj. Were you going to say this is the one, or?
Wait, no. Right now, this is not sourcing from Meshery catalog, right? So this is the same, but when we do move to sourcing from Meshery catalog, you'll see that here.
Cool. Okay. That'll be awesome.
And we'll have to name the patterns accordingly, because I mean, Istio installation for catalog isn't exactly a good name.
Cool. Well, for anyone who's here to work on front end items, this site Meshery.io, gosh, so much to do just on this modal. This is hard to read. These are pretty small. Way over there's a ton of white space. There's just a ton of things, but this is pretty cool though, how Meshery has a separately running instance and the catalog that people can contribute their designs into are getting interconnected. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's 4 minutes over, and thank you everyone for coming in and joining the call. And the rest of the items that we have here we'll discuss in the future call. I mean, these 3-4 items were from, I mean, 2, 3, 4 calls older, but yeah. So that's the level of population that we have on our agenda list. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining, and we'll meet soon next Wednesday on development call.
Thanks, Abhi. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.